This is a stimulus update and daily news report. Got some big important updates to share with you. A Republican senator is pushing for a new type of child tax credit. Looks like Russia has officially invaded Ukraine and has sent troops across the border. I'll give you the latest stimulus check articles like this. Bonus stimulus checks and automatic cash set to be sent to millions of Americans. And one state is giving stimulus funds to 3 different groups of people. I'll let you know what President Biden is doing about stimulus and the Build Back Better, and I'll give you some other important updates as well. Hope you're having a terrific Tuesday. If you appreciate the fact-based, fast-paced updates, hit the like button down below, and I'm giving $200 to my subscribers. I'll talk more about that later on in the video, but first, Romney's push to revive child tax credit hinges on work requirements. So the Republican senator said several Democrats have expressed interest and spoken with him about his proposal, which includes key differences from previous tax credits. So really interesting how Romney, a Republican senator, is pushing for the child tax credit. Take a look at this video clip explaining more.
There's fresh optimism this morning for those hoping to revive the expanded child tax credit. Republican Senator Mitt Romney is pushing a new version of the bill, one that he hopes could gain support from both sides of the aisle. NBC's Ali Vitale has more on that. So, Ali, walk us through Senator Romney's new proposal, and does it have a chance?
Yeah, look, Joe, this comes against the backdrop of what Steph just laid out. We were already seeing inflation at grocery stores, higher prices because of supply chain issues that stemmed from the pandemic. The child tax credit was one of the things done early on in the pandemic by Congress to help alleviate that financial strain for Americans. Of course, it lapsed at the end of last year when Congress couldn't come to consensus to extend it along with the rest of Biden's Build Back Better agenda. But now there is some renewed momentum here in Congress on the Republican side of the aisle. Senator Mitt Romney, one of those Republicans, coming forward with his own plan. This one includes strict work requirements, as well as slashing programs that aid vulnerable Americans, as well as proposing making significant changes to the tax codes. Some of those things could be sticking points for Democrats. But that being said, Romney just last week with reporters said he was in the preliminary phases of discussions with some Democrats on this, trying to come to some consensus on doing the child tax credit as a standalone bill in a bipartisan fashion. We know that in terms of Build Back Better, that is stalled and remains very quiet here. But on the child tax credit, one of the key people that we regularly talk to about this was Senator Joe Manchin. He has made clear that he wants to see a work requirement in this if it were to go forward. So that could be a point of commonality as we look ahead here. There are also other Democratic senators who point out that this is a program that slashed child poverty in this country during the several months that it was in effect. Now, a study from January, the month after those checks stopped coming, showed that 3.7 million more kids in America were in poverty, and we've seen these things break down along racial lines before. Black and brown kids were more impacted in that study as we saw the rise in child poverty. So clearly an impact of the program that slashed child poverty and then is no longer in effect as Americans still grapple with what it means to not get those checks every month.
What do you think about the child tax credit having a work requirement? Good idea, bad idea? Let me know your thoughts on that down in the comments below. And mentioning the Build Back Better, what's going on with that? So President Biden believes his Build Back Better agenda will help alleviate rising inflation. Despite what Republicans are saying that it'll cause more inflation, there's always that argument between the two parties. Take a look at what the White House is saying about that.
The president continues to talk about his Build Back Better plan. He did so today, did a couple of events last week. What is the White House expectation at this point about the future of that plan? Is there any evidence of any sort of forward movement, forward progress, even on a pared back version of that? There doesn't seem to be a lot of optimism or action right now on Capitol Hill, but can you talk about what the White House expectation is for that and why the president continues to bring this up?
Well, the president continues to bring it up because as we talk about the impact of inflation, which most people experience in their daily lives as rising costs, one of the ways that we can address that is by passing legislation that will help lower costs for Americans, whether it's child care or health care or the cost of prescription drugs. And we can do that and fully pay for it by making the tax system more fair. So what is encouraging to the president is that there is broad support for lowering costs for the American people in all of those categories and for making the tax system more fair. And we are continuing to work in lockstep and in partnership with a range of senators, and they're having their own discussions about moving these efforts forward. Go ahead.
Do you think that the Build Back Better bill will actually cause more inflation or decrease inflation? Let me know your thoughts on that down in the comments below. Let's get into the latest stimulus check articles. So bonus stimulus checks and automatic cash set to be sent to millions of Americans in 4 states. See if you're eligible. So the 4 states are California. This is going to be the 3rd round of stimulus checks. Supposedly they have an extra $23 billion in surplus. California just has so much money, but also really high taxes too. So they're going to give out more money there. Also, Florida is giving out another round of $1,000 checks to teachers. This is the 2nd round, 2nd year in a row. And then Indiana giving out a $125 stimulus after filing a tax return. So anybody in Indiana could get access to that $125. Another state with a big surplus. Then in New York, they're giving money out in a few different ways. Workers in New York who lost their jobs during the pandemic but were unable to collect stimulus checks due to their immigration status were able to apply to the Excluded Workers Fund for 2021 so they could get some stimulus there. And then this article, regulators approved $90 electric bill credit for low-income Mainers. So this is just in Maine, and it's one-time credit is expected to be applied to automatically to 90,000 customers by March 30th. So if you're in Maine and you qualify, you can get an extra $90 off your electric bill there. Then stimulus update, one state is stepping up with stimulus funds for these 3 groups. So this is going on in New York, and the 3 different ways to get stimulus there. So multi-generational households. So the ODTA will issue a one-time $730 payment to any household that fits the following criteria. So enrolled in SNAP or public assistance, one household resident must be 55 or older, and one child must be 17 or younger. Then there is families with young children. So families will receive $140 to help offset the cost of diapers. Then we have domestic violence survivors. So according to the governor's office, calls to the New York State Domestic and Sexual Violence Hotline rose 45% during the height of the pandemic, and they're giving out money from the $21.4 million domestic violence fund there. So that's what's going on in New York. And then child tax credit news here. Urgent child tax credit payment warning as $415 million in cash remains unclaimed. How to apply before it's too late. So this is basically talking about anybody who received the child tax credit in 2021. You get that second half after you file your taxes. So that's all this is talking about. Basically the $415 million for people to claim the other half of their child tax credit. You have to file your taxes in order to get it. It's not automatic. And also moving on, Putin orders Russian troops into eastern Ukraine separatist regions. So it is official. Take a look at this video clip explaining more.
That major escalation from Russia over Ukraine, the U.S. bracing tonight for what could come next. Tonight, Russian President Vladimir Putin has told the Russian people he is now recognizing the independence of 2 separatist regions of Ukraine. And tonight, he has already ordered Russian troops to move into those 2 breakaway regions to, quote, maintain peace in that part of Ukraine. Tonight, President Biden responding with new but so far mild sanctions, still bracing for what Putin could do next. The U.S. warning Ukraine's President Volodymyr Zelensky to leave the capital of Kyiv for his own safety. President Biden speaking with him late today. Zelensky is expected to speak to the people of Ukraine any time now. Vladimir Putin, in a series of carefully planned out moments, holding a televised meeting with his national security team, during which he asked each of them, should he recognize those 2 separatist regions in eastern Ukraine as independent? They all answered yes. Then late today, speaking to the Russian people in a televised address, arguing Ukraine is not just a neighbor, but a country with, quote, blood and family ties to Russia, calling the Ukrainian government corrupt and a puppet of the West. Putin claiming Ukraine is the aggressor. In recent days, flooding Russian TV with images of women, children, and the elderly being evacuated from eastern Ukraine. Though the U.S. believes all of this has been orchestrated, that Ukraine has planned no military action. Tonight, more than 150,000 Russian troops still posted on 3 sides of Ukraine. President Biden, for a second day now, holding urgent meetings at the White House with his national security team. ABC's Cecilia Vega at the White House tonight. James Longman from Moscow. Martha Raddatz on the border of Ukraine and Poland. What she's learning from her sources tonight. But we do begin with ABC senior foreign correspondent Ian Pannell in the capital of Kyiv, Ukraine.
Tonight, a dangerous escalation in the Ukraine crisis. Russian President Vladimir Putin formally recognizing 2 pro-Russian rebel areas in the east of the country as independent, ordering his military to move across the border under the guise of peacekeeping. In an hour-long, sometimes angry speech, Putin questioning Ukraine's legitimacy, accusing its leaders of being a puppet of the Western world that's trying to undermine and weaken Russia. And after days of false flag operations that Western leaders say are manufactured, Putin telling the Russian people it's actually Ukraine attacking, with this warning to Ukraine's leader. We demand you immediately cease military action, says Putin, otherwise all bloodshed will be on your hands.
Putin is using justifications like peacekeeping, which no one outside of Russia will believe, but the Russian people will believe, because Mr. Putin controls what they see and hear.
The move could open the way to Russia formally annexing the regions which it's de facto controlled in any case. President Biden, for a second day in a row, convening an urgent meeting of his national security team. Despite warning of catastrophic consequences, the White House choosing to impose relatively minor sanctions for now. The European Union also condemning Russia's move as a blatant violation of international law and promising more sanctions. Earlier in the day, in a bizarre orchestrated performance, Putin gathered his top national security advisors on live TV to ask if he should recognize the rebel regions as independent. Unsurprisingly, they all said yes. Russia's amassed more than 150,000 troops around Ukraine's borders. New satellite images showing some of the Kremlin's forces less than 6 miles from the Ukrainian border. The fear is whether tonight's announcement might just be the opening move in a larger-scale, devastating invasion of Ukraine. The White House calling Ukrainian President Zelensky tonight and urging him to leave the capital immediately for his own safety.
A significant move in that respect. Ian Pannell with us again tonight from Kyiv. And Ian, as you just reported, U.S. officials have now warned President Zelensky to leave the capital. I know authorities are not only concerned about eastern Ukraine. Russian troops in those 2 separatist regions are expected, but there's also concern about Kyiv as well.
Yeah, I think that's right. We know that Zelensky has spoken with President Biden and other world leaders, and they're all pretty much giving the same message. I think it's unlikely that he's going to heed these warnings to leave Kiev, though, because to do so would create the very thing he's been trying to avoid, which is, of course, spread panic in the country. But nevertheless, the United States is convinced that the capital is going to be attacked, and it could very quickly become unstable and dangerous. But I think it's hard to imagine that either Zelensky is going to leave or that the Ukrainian people will give up Kiev without a significant fight.
And Ian, in the meantime, we should point out that right after Putin declared those 2 regions in eastern Ukraine independent, there appeared to be a choreographed display of fireworks in one of those regions, what many say is proof that all of this has been orchestrated.
Yeah, that's right. I mean, almost farcical display. There were only a handful of people who suddenly appeared on the streets to see these fireworks, but most people are staying at home, or some of the people have actually been evacuated from the country altogether. And I think this fits this pattern of these videos without any authentication. For example, sirens going off, but no signs of explosions, attacks coming in, but the evidence that's shown isn't very convincing. But we have to remember, we're not the audience here. The audience is the people who live in the republics and the Russian domestic audience. They're being sold a countered narrative that basically says Ukraine is attacking them.
After all this talk of Russia potentially invading Ukraine, it's going to happen any day. It looks like it's happening, but the reaction isn't as much as I thought it would be. I thought there would be more sanctions, more fights, but they're saying that these are separatist regions. Let me know down in the comments below. Is this a big deal? Is this just the first step to ease into it, turning an inch into a mile? Or is this not a big deal? Let me know your thoughts on all this down in the comments below. And that is all the news that I have for you today to hopefully brighten your day a bit. Here's my daughter Bella's tip of the day.
Hi guys, this is Bella. This is the tip of the day. I want to tell you one thing that you should do. When you want to do something, you have the power to do whatever you want. Unless, one thing, you believe in yourself. That's the only trick. So that's all I wanted to tell you for today. Bye. This is the Bella.
Thank you so much for watching. As mentioned before, I'm giving out $200 checks to my subscribers. You have to be subscribed to this channel, so hit the subscribe button if you want to be part of that, and I have a few other things detailed down in the description below. So I'm going to play some pickleball after filming this video. Love it so much, play it all the time. Anyways, hopefully you have a great rest of your day. If you want to check out any of my latest videos, my other channels, you can click up here, and I'll see you in the next video. Take care, be safe. Thank you for watching.